Welcome back. This is finally the video I've been waiting to record. It is the NFL free agent targets, in my opinion, that we should consider signing or should sign. Um, and we're going to go ahead and get into it. So it's going to be a PowerPoint. Um, we're just going to roll through. Each slide will be a different position. We're just going to do offense today, and then we'll probably do defense or defensive line in the next video, and then we'll do secondary in the final video, as well as special teams. So today will just be the offensive side of the ball. But let's go ahead and get into it. So first off, just so I don't get any criticism about this is wrong and stuff like that. I made a first slide as some ages might be rounded up. Um, these players' ages stats are according to Spot Track. All of this data is from Spot Track. And these players, are, in my opinion, that I would sign, or Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell in the front office would consider signing. So let's go into it. So starting at quarterback. By the way, X, if they have an X behind the numbers or behind the name or in front of the name, that means I would highly consider signing that player or really think about it. So at quarterback, I got three players since we do need a third string quarterback now to compete with Hooker or just have that emergency third string quarterback. We got for three that I would consider signing Kyle Allen, Trevor Siemian, and Josh Dobbs. Kyle Allen is definitely the one I would probably consider the most out of all these. I've always been a Kyle Allen guy. He's not super old, but he's a veteran. He would help out Hooker. Trevor Siemian is not that great either. I would say Kyle Allen's better than Trevor Siemian, but Trevor Siemian has got that major veteran experience. And he would be a solid emergency third string quarterback. And then Josh Dobbs is the last. I don't think we'll get Josh Dobbs. He'll probably be coming back up somewhere. He'll probably cost the most money out of the three. So I would say that would probably be the least likely. But those are three guys I would highly consider, especially Kyle Allen, to sign. Let's move on to running back. Now, these running backs are third string running backs because we need it. Craig Rounds is not under contract. He will be a free agent. So we will need a new third string running back, unless if he does come back, and we could still sign another guy to compete with him to make the 53 man. So we got a lot of guys here. We got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He was a guy I would highly consider signing. He's a former first round pick. He's really young, 25 years old. And I just think he would be a good third string running back to have. If Monty and Gibbs went down, I think he could definitely take the role for a game or two if he ever needed to. Boston Scott is another one that I would highly consider signing. He's not the youngest. He's 29. I believe that's Reynolds' age. I think Reynolds is 28, 29, somewhere around there. I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire a lot because of his age since he's so young. Boston Scott is a little bit older, but also he's very serviceable. So, again, also if Monty and stuff like that ever went down, he would also be, I think, a solid running back to have as your starter for a week or two if you ever needed him. Matt Breida, I wouldn't highly consider signing this guy. I'm not a big fan of this guy, but I definitely think he could be a solid third stringer for us. Chase Edmonds as well. Never been a big fan of him, but he's a solid running back. I would not be mad at all if we took him as our third string running back. Now, here's another one I would highly consider signing. Rico Dowdle. He's the Dallas third string running back right now behind Deuce Vaughn and Tony Pollard. He'll probably get re-signed in Dallas, but you never know. He's really young, 26 years old, and I really liked what he's shown in the games he played this year. So I would be all on board. That's probably the number one guy on this list that I would sign on the running backs. I would definitely Rico Dallas high on my list. Another guy is DJ Dallas, the Seattle third string running back behind Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. I've liked what he's eaten us alive a little bit. I'm pretty sure. I don't think it was this game, but last season, Kenneth Walker I think was hurt, so he had to step in as the starter for the game, and he ate us alive. I think he got over 100 rushing yards or something like that. So, and I've always liked this play. Besides that, and he's super young as well. And he is a third string running back. That's what he's been his whole entire career. So he'd be cheap. He'd be really cheap, and just bring him in to compete with Reynolds if we were to bring Reynolds back. Another one is Eno Benjamin. I'm pretty sure he was out the whole entire season with an injury, but the season before that, he played really well. He had 300 or 400 rushing yards. He's super young. He is coming off of the injury, season-ending injury, which is a problem. But I think he could definitely be an option. Now another, I put Mohamed Ibrahim on this list. I know we're not going to sign him. I'm pretty sure he's done, but I was a big fan of Mohamed Ibrahim coming out of college, and I just feel bad for him. Hopefully, he can land somewhere. But I just put him on this list because he's a good running back, man. So, but again, if we were ever to decide to bring him back, I'd be all for it. And now these last two players are fullbacks because we did not sign Kabinda to a futures contract, so we currently do not have a fullback on the 53 man or on the team, I should say. Um, but these are two fullbacks that I highly consider signing. It's Alex Arma. He is a little bit up there in age. However, he's one of the better fullbacks in the league. Um, he can catch, unlike Kabinda, and he can block. Adam Prentice, I believe that's how you say the guy's name. He's younger. I don't know as much about him. I'm pretty sure he's the Saints fullback. Um, don't know as much about him. He's not as quite as good as Alex Arma. I know that. But he's also better than what Kabinda is. So Adam Prentice, I would definitely consider him as well. Now let's move on to wide receiver. Um, so number one, we got Curtis Samuel. This is if Josh Reynolds and DPJ leave. I'm assuming 100% one of these guys will come back. If Josh Reynolds comes back, I don't see us signing most of these guys on this list. Maybe a couple, but not most. But if DPJ comes back and Josh doesn't, I could 100% see some of the big names on this list coming to Detroit. Now, if both of them come back, I don't think any of these guys will sign with us. But Curtis Samuel is a guy, if Josh was to leave, I'd highly consider signing. He's been really good these past 2 years. Even before when he took off these past 2 years, I was a big fan of him. I think he got like 600 or 700 yards last year, and I think he got around the same this year. So and he's a speed guy too. He's got them legs. So I can 100% be fine with and he's young too. He's 27 years old. So I'd highly consider signing Samuel if Reynolds does not come back. Now another one is Tyler Boyd, one of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL. He is up there in age. He's 29 years old, but you can give him like a 2-year deal. I don't think he'd be the most expensive or I think Tyler Boyd could probably be potentially number one receiver on some teams in the league. Like he is severely underrated. He's the third stringer for the Bengals right now. It's crazy, and I don't expect him to be back because they franchise tag T Higgins. So I don't think Boyd will be back in Cincinnati, but I think he would be cheaper. He could not be, I don't know, because he's really underrated. But just bring him on a 1 or 2 year deal, and he'd do really good for you. He gets you like 800 yards a year, 700, 800 yards a year. That's the receiver he is, and that's as a third string role. So imagine if he takes the Josh Reynolds role, he'll probably get like 800, 900. Now, the next one is Kendrick Bourne. I've actually caught on to this guy in the past year or two. I've really liked his game. He's the number one. Well, maybe he is, maybe he's not on the Patriots currently. I don't expect him to be back on the Patriots. They're probably going to draft a receiver to be the number one or a quarterback. So Bourne, I'd give a 1 or 2 year deal. He's just a really solid receiver. Next guy is Paris Campbell. He's not super old at all. He's 26 and a half. I'm not a big fan of Paris Campbell, but he would be a really cheap guy to take the DPJ role if DPJ was to leave, which I expect that to happen. Now another guy is McCole Hardman. I expect him to resign in Kansas City because he caught the Super Bowl game-winning catch. But if he doesn't come back to Kansas City, then I could 100% wouldn't sign him. He'd be the DPJ replacement, in my opinion. He's super fast and speedy. He's really young, 26 years old. And I think he'd be a solid replacement for DPJ. He's not nearly as big as DPJ, but he's a pretty solid receiver. Next, we got Noah Brown. He's also caught on to me in the past couple years since he started popping off. and he was this past year he was in Houston, and then the year before that he was in Dallas. Um, in Dallas, I think he had 800 receiving yards. He balled out that year, and then he had like 600 this year. He'd just be that DPJ replacement as well again. Very solid receiver. Next, we got Laviska Shenault. He was on the Panthers this past year. And yeah, he was on the Panthers this last year. He's super young. He's super speedy. Not be mad if we signed him. Now, this one is probably the one that's most intriguing. DJ Chark. He could come back to Detroit. I could 100% see it. I don't know. It's tough. Would I rather take DJ Chark or Josh Reynolds? It's super tough, man. I would probably, gonna be completely honest with you, take DJ Chark over Josh Reynolds. I understand DJ Chark is more of a risk because he always gets hurt. I think this was like his most healthy season in 3 or 4 years. I believe he played like 14 games or something like that. But if you look at his history, he's not been really good in terms of being on the field. But he's young. He's 27 years old. He's more of a deep threat than what Reynolds is, and we need that deep threat receiver. So, and he would be cheaper as well. I believe he got around, I think it was 500 receiving yards this year in Carolina, which was definitely underwhelming because he was the number one heading into the year, and then he just did not show that. But he is a very solid number 2 or 3 receiver to have. So I would not be mad if he came back. Next one is Devin Duvernay. Another young receiver, didn't play much this year. I think he had around 100 receiving yards. Didn't do much, but the year before that he did really good. Had around 600, I believe. Another speedy guy. He can be our kick returner. I believe he is the kick returner and punt returner for Baltimore currently. So I would 100% consider signing him as well. And then the last guy is Marcus Robinson. This was made like a week or 2 before this video, and Marcus Robinson got re-signed to the Rams, so that one does not matter. Move on to tight end. We got first one is Austin Hooper. This is if Brock Wright leaves to be our backup tight end. Austin Hooper, I've always liked. I don't know what happened to him after he left Cleveland. After he left Cleveland, he basically became a nobody. He's not starter caliber anymore, but when he was in Cleveland, he was like a top 7, top 5 tight end in the league. He was so good. Again, he's not that great anymore, but he can still get you backup numbers like 200 receiving yards, 250, 300 receiving yards a year. He's solid tight end, man. So that is probably the number one tight end I would consider signing out of all these, just to bring in some veteran depth in there. Next guy is Robert Tonyan. He was on the Bears this year, did nothing. I think he had under 100 receiving yards. I could see him not possibly being in the league after this season, but never know. He'd be a guy, though, to bring in veteran depth as well. Now, next one is very controversial. Irv Smith. A lot of people don't like him because he always drops balls and he's just never on the field for the most part. He was the number one tight end for the Cincinnati Bengals this year, and he did nothing basically. I think he had around 300, 250 receiving yards. Very underwhelming, but he would be a solid backup tight end to have, super young. Next guy is Drew Sample. He was a target for me last year to be our backup tight end. He's not super old. Again, just veteran depth to bring in to be a solid backup tight end. And now this last one, I'm also very intrigued in. Harrison Bryant. He's been on the Browns third string tight end for the past couple of years, and he's been doing great numbers as a third string tight end. I believe 200 receiving yards and above every season of his career that he's been as the third string tight end. So I'd 100% consider him. Now we got to hurry up because I got about 45 seconds left. So we're going to run through the offensive lineman here. This is if Jonah Jackson does not return, which I don't expect him to return. So this would be our starting guard or center, and then stuff like that. So we got Connor Williams, Dalton Risner, Evan Brown, Ayers Cleveland, Robert Hunt, Connor McGovern, Will Clapp, Billy Turner, Kendall Lyman, Charlie Heck. The T is for tackle, which is the last 3. They would be a backup tackle. So all these guys would just consider starting for Jonah Jackson. That's all these guys before that would be the Jonah Jackson replacement for me. So one pride, go Lions. We will go over the defense in the next video. Tell me if you guys like this video. I thought it was pretty good for the most part.